Well, here we are, our first podcast. And this is Kevin Schell, and we are calling this the Pease in a Podcast. And we are here with the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Charlie Pease of Cape Coral. And he's running for city council. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you.
Great to see you, sir. And tell us a little bit about how's it been going and a little bit of your background so far.
So I actually just came tonight from an event over at Mercola Market in Cape Coral, where all the candidates for all the different races in not only Cape Coral, but throughout the county were there, and had great engagement with the community and people coming up and talking about the issues. So it's really cool to see how many people actually care about what's going on in our community right now. And so I'm excited to be running for city council, and
well, that's awesome.
Talk more.
Let's go back for everybody. And I love this medium because this is a medium that sometimes you can get to know people, or you can get to know the topic of what people are talking about a lot better in a podcast than you can like in a snippet that you see on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And I love this medium in that you can really get forward your opinions and who you are. So let's start there a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your background.
Yeah, and to your point about the podcast, I would love to do more podcasts where we talk about city issues and dig deeper and bring on guests and stuff like that. So I think this is a really cool way to get to know people and to learn about the issues. So I'm excited about that. But my background, I'm a lifelong educator. I know you and I go back probably about 10 years. When I was the principal of Coronado High School, I met
Absolutely.
you when you did some work in the district with East Lee County High School. But I was a teacher. So I grew up here in Cape Coral. I went to Pelican Elementary. I went to Trafalgar Middle School. I went to Cape Coral High School. And I went on to University of Florida, came back. My wife and I were both teachers at Cape Coral High School. So we're lifelong educators. After doing that for 5 or 6 years or so, we decided to go on to other opportunities. And I did my MBA at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And somehow the marriage of business and education.
So you were very happy this past year, I take it.
Yeah, go blue, absolutely.
Winning the national championship.
Okay. I bleed orange and blue. I'm a Florida Gator because that was our undergrad. My wife and I are both Gators, but it's always awesome to have two teams in the mix when one team's not doing so well. So go blue for sure. We had a great experience from 2010 to 12 or so in Ann Arbor. And I finished my MBA. We then went on to, I worked with charter schools and charter school management and administration in Chicago. We lived in the city. I worked with schools on the south side of Chicago from 2012 until 2015. And then my wife said to me, hey, I really want to move home and it's time to have a baby. And so we thought the timing was right in our life. And we decided to move back home in 2015. I got the job as principal of Coronado High School, which I think is when we first met. And the baby just turned 7. He had a birthday on Saturday, and it really does fly. But we're really blessed to be part of this community. I've been the director at Cape Coral Technical College since 2019. So coming up on 5 years there. My wife's a teacher, a high school teacher, and we're just rooted in the community, and we really care. And we want to see our son grow up in a community that has all the amenities and the things that he's going to need and future generations are going to need, where whether it's green spaces or
and I was going to even ask that. Okay, so let's talk about the city council race itself. What makes you, here you are, you're a principal, things are going great, and what really makes you want to go into probably one of the toughest professions and makes you want to jump into politics, especially in the climate that we exist in now? But what makes you want to jump into that?
Yeah. So, first of all, I just care. We are at a crossroads in the city of Cape Coral right now, where the decisions that we make with the hyper growth that's happening, Cape Coral is around 240,000 residents right now, which is substantially more, I think more than double what you have in the city of Fort Myers. and it's projected to grow out over the next 10 years to 300,000, and over the next 20 or 30 years to 400,000 plus with the full build out. And we need to get it right. And you mentioned going into politics. I'm not a politician, but I'm somebody who I think can be a great representative for um, my peers. The median age in Cape Coral now, I just saw recently, is something like 45 years old. And I believe that I represent the future. I have a 7-year-old. I'm rooted in the community. I'm involved in the community. I work with all kinds of organizations and things like that.
And for me, being in the sort of the outside looking in, and being the host of the show a little bit, but what it really intrigues me is that what I love about your candidacy, that you have roots here. And a lot of these people who sit on those positions, it almost seems like they've moved from someplace else and have no roots. You grew up in this community, and you have seen it grow. You've seen some of the issues that maybe didn't go the correct way for the city. And I think that when someone has that kind of ownership, they're going to be a lot better of a choice, I believe.
Sure. And just to go back to what we were saying, earlier with my day job, I do not intend to leave my day job. I won't leave my day job.
And that was it. I was going to bring that up. So you can be city council and still keep your day job.
Yeah. So if you go back to the Constitution, our founding fathers, right? The way
right.
the way that they came up with our representative system was to make these part-time positions, right?
They were never meant to be full-time.
The idea was that you can have a real job, that you can have a family, and that you can represent your community. And so anyone who suggests otherwise, to me, it's incredibly unfair to say, well, you can't be in this type of job but also be an elected official. You can't be someone who's given your life to public service but can't be an elected representative who represents the community. And so I will, of course, keep my day job. I do believe that most council business needs to be done in the evenings to engage with folks. And so, we'll work to make sure that those meetings are in the evenings. And I also was involved a few months ago with writing some editorials and things, because there was an effort to move the Cape Coral regular city council meetings from 4:30 p.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. And luckily we were able to change some minds there by letting them know that entire occupational sectors, in my opinion, were going to be excluded from in-person engagement at city council meetings. And the reality is that many times being there in person, right, and being able to engage like we are right now makes a huge difference. But from sending an email or something like that. And so
I think too that you having a regular job, let's per se, is an advantage also, because you have your pulse on what's going on in the community, not only with the people who are attending the college, it's also the business people on what their needs are for hiring, and having your sort of, like I say, your hands in all that can really bring some really great viewpoints to people making decisions for the city, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and there's an old saying that if you want something to be done right, give it to somebody who's busy, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, do I have a lot of responsibility? Of course I do, but I've always throughout my life been engaged in all kinds of different activities because I care, right? Because I believe that hopefully I can make a difference in a positive way. And so certainly I'll keep my day job. This is Cape Coral City Council is meant to be a part-time position, and that might entail, 20 hours a week or whatever the case might be. And there might be some weeks where it's more than that, but we can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, Cape Coral City Council is a part-time paid position, but you have to be a retiree, for example, who can dedicate their entire life to it, or you have to be in a certain profession that has complete flexibility because I'm the business owner and I can have other people doing, people who are in institutional jobs who represent large swaths of our occupational sectors like education need to be a voice and a representative. And so my goal is to be that voice and representative. And you're exactly right. I do believe that I have a pulse on what's happening in our community because I'm engaged with people all the time. And I also sit on some volunteer boards. You know, I'm on the Cape Coral Charter Schools governing board authority. So I'm one of the 7 voting members for the Oasis Charter School System Board. I sit on the Cape Coral Museum of History board, and we do different activities in the community and different events. And that keeps me rooted and connected in the community to understand really what's going on and what we can do better as a as a as a council and as a city.
Right, right. So I guess the big question is, so no matter what, if you're elected or when you're elected, you will be basically, you will stay seated in
look,
your
the truth
position.
Is I have to, right? So Cape Coral City Council pays, roughly $40,000 a year. Now they did give themselves a stipend. They got in the business of stipends.
Now, did that go through, or did they?
So, So first of all, I will make a motion on day one to end the stipend, right? And I will also work to change the Cape Coral City Charter so that any council in the future can't continue to have an avenue for changing their own compensation, whether that's through a stipend or through a salary increase. It needs to be voted on by the voters. So I will not take the stipend, and I will not, I certainly won't accept the stipend, and I'll vote against the stipend. But more importantly, I'll also work to change the charter, because what happened back on December 13th when the council gave themselves a stipend without discussion, without public transparency, was tragic, and it opened up a can of worms in the future. And we need to, and I'm not saying that Cape Coral City Council shouldn't potentially be, the salary shouldn't be adjusted, because it is a big job in a growing city. But we need to be transparent in those discussions. We need to put together the right folks and the right committees to come back and have public workshops on this. And then maybe in 2026, you put a referendum vote item, and whether that salary should be 50,000 or 60,000 or whatever, we can make that decision. But to be clear, I'm not an independently wealthy person, so it would be impossible for
me. You're not?
It would be impossible for me to quit my day job.
Right.
This will be a part-time job as a representative for our community. And yeah, is it going to be something that requires extra effort and me to be, going to city council and having all those meetings and participating in other volunteer boards and things, of course.
So you've been at this, what, a couple months? You've been like on the trail, I guess, so to speak. And what's been your favorite thing about getting out there with the people?
My favorite thing is just talking to people. And
like tonight, you had
tonight at Mercola, we had a great event that was sponsored by Fox News Radio, and all the candidates in the entire city were able to be there with tables, and there were hundreds of people who showed up, and they came up and they engaged with us and they asked questions. They said, what are your priorities? How do you feel about issues like the stipend, like our parks and recreation issues that are going on with JC Park or the Yacht Club, the Utilities Extension Project, which is another big thing in Cape Coral. And it's really nice to just talk to people and hear their opinions. And I'm somebody who, I pride myself on being pragmatic and really thinking through things and trying to solve problems. And, that's my job as a school administrator right now, really. Of course, I'm the one who sets the vision, and we have all kinds of cool things going on with our expansion project and some other things like that.
Does the city council, sorry to stop you there, but does the city council create the vision for the city, or does the mayor? I don't know that. And I'm sure people would want to know that.
Yeah. So the structure of the Cape Coral city government is a council manager structure. Is you have the council, so there are 7 districts, and then you have the mayor. The mayor is elected at large, just like the council is elected at large. And it's really important to get the message out to our community that everyone who votes in Cape Coral votes at large, which means that you vote for every district. So whether you live in my district, in District 5 or not, you're going to have a chance to vote for me and to vote for all the others, districts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. And that's a huge deal, because your voice matters with all the districts.
Are you finding that there's a buzz about this election,
Oh,
or
big time. Yeah.
so you
This
think
is a big election. And like I said, we're at a pivotal time in our history for Cape Coral. And it's a big deal. And just to be, to finish the conversation about the structure of the city government in Cape Coral. So the mayor serves as effectively the chair of the board. So he sets the agenda and such for the city council meetings. And the council, so the mayor doesn't have any more vote than the 7 district members. So there are 8 total votes. And so in order to pass any motion, you have to have at least 5 votes. So if someone makes a motion for something and it's 4-4, then that motion will fail. And so it's important to note that the mayor doesn't have any additional powers beyond the council. His vote is equal. He just serves as the chairman of the board. And then what happens is the Cape Coral City Council, just like historically with the school board, for example, they hire the chief executive. And the chief executive for our council manager form of government in Cape Coral is the Cape Coral City Manager. So the Cape Coral City Manager reports directly to the Cape Coral City Council. He implements their vision, their policy, right? And when it comes to the city council, of course, controls the budget. But at the end of the day, the chief executive officer of the city of Cape Coral is the city manager. Just like in the school district, it's the superintendent. Right. And so then the city manager hires all of the downline positions with the directors and so on for the different divisions.
So there you have it. Boy, I'm telling you, I just got an education on city government. I didn't even know half that stuff. So that's incredible. So the last topic, and again, as we go through these podcasts, we can, go different directions in each one of them. And we hope that the people out there will be tuning in and watching these. So I guess maybe we'll put these out every 2 weeks or so. But I want to talk about leadership for a minute. And I'm a big proponent of wisdom, and how one leads is really important for me. And talk about your style as a leader. Yeah. Maybe who shaped you into being the leader you are today, and maybe like how you plan to use those skills in this new job when you get it.
Sure. And I think I didn't get a chance, so I'll try to tie it all together here, but I didn't get a chance earlier. You asked me what are some important issues, so I want to elaborate on those, and while talking about how I see leadership. But one other note about the 5 candidates that are up for election. So August 20th is very important because that's the primary date in our race, and the top 2 vote getters will move on to the November 5th election. So in Cape Coral, about 35,000 or so people may vote in August 20th, but we really need people to get out and actually vote. And then on November 5th, the top 2 candidates in each city council race will be on that ballot. But to go back to your question about leadership, so I think you need to lead by doing, and you need to show people that you're willing to get down and be involved and problem solve, and not just delegate everything.
Like servant leadership. Yeah, and that's what I believe in too.
Yeah, I'm somebody who I try to be in tune with everything that's happening. Of course, you try not to micromanage, but I'm very detail oriented, and I also see my role, and on the council, this will be my role as well, is to make sure that I sort of serve as the visionary and the policy setter. And then you have to trust people. You have to be able to trust people. One of my favorite books is called The Speed of Trust, and they talk about being able to delegate effectively. So delegating results and not delegating activities, right? And those sorts of things are important, that you reflect upon your leadership and how people see that. But the other thing that's really important about leadership, and I think this is important for city council, is that you're always transparent about why you're doing things, right? That you have open discussion. And sometimes people will give me a little bit of hard time for talking too much or saying, over explaining something, right?
And that my wife says that about me sometimes. But that's the teacher in you.
It is. I was a math teacher, and
I think sometimes we can go overboard.
We can. And I think I would love more people to get in and try the teaching profession, because you do get into that habit of trying to say things in different ways. And
we can talk about that one of these days. The teaching profession, how I really wish we had more powerhouses going into, but that's neither here nor there. But go ahead, continue with that leadership.
Being a leader is somebody who is thinking 3 steps ahead and is understanding how one decision is going to impact the next And I talk to my other administrator and some of my staff. I talk about unintended consequences. And I think that to translate this now to city council, I think there have been some unexpected and unintended consequences to some of the decisions that the current council has made over the past year. And I wish they would change their mind. It's okay to change your mind. I'm somebody who, if you present me with new information and it makes sense and I've reflected on it, and I mentioned I'm a pragmatic, thoughtful problem solver, and so I'm willing to change my mind.
Right.
And to go back to the question of what are some key priorities for me, so I always talk about transparency, protecting our parks and green spaces, smart growth, and also fiscal responsibility. So I am a fiscal conservative. I'm somebody who, even in my day job, I'm always looking at things. When an order comes through to order things, I say, do we really need that, or can we shift some resources elsewhere and make sure that we're saving taxpayer dollars? Because at the end of the day, every $1,000 adds up, and in a large bureaucracy, it adds up to millions of dollars. And so transparency as a leader is critical. And unfortunately, what our city council has done with the stipend vote, what they've done with, in my opinion, the way that JC Park has kind of unraveled with the plans there to commercialize the park, that I totally disagree with what happened with the yacht club.
And I think that when we come to our next one, we really want to expand upon that.
Yeah.
And you kind of probably need to take every one of those for the issue itself. And we're almost at the time here, Mr. Pease, and we're going to wrap things up. What I thought we would do is a little bit of what we call rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and maybe a one-word answer would be appropriate as we take it out of here. Okay, so that way maybe some people can get to know you a little bit better, and we'll have a little bit of fun. Okay,
put me on the spot.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, right. we definitely. Right. I don't know what's
all right. You are ready? What's your favorite movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
I was a math.
You don't have to go any further. One word.
Good Will Hunting.
One word. Okay.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Okay. So let's go. Your favorite book.
My favorite book, I would say The Great Gatsby.
Your favorite food?
Steak.
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I would want to go to Ireland and Scotland, and maybe St. Andrews, and just hang out at the pubs and have a pint, and just chill in the small villages, and maybe play a little bit of golf, and not have a big agenda and all these things that are schedule, and just hang out there for a couple
and
weeks.
Make sure Mingo is there too.
Mingo is the man. He's the greatest human, and we'll bring him on here one day.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to have some guests on next time. Well, Mr. Pease, you are the man, and we're gonna be rooting for you. We're gonna be out there on the trail for you, and thank you for being part of the Pease in the podcast, our first world tour here, and we look forward to more broadcasts where we can talk about the issues even further. Right.
Awesome.
So
yeah,
with that, is there any last words for everybody out there?
I hope that people will give me a look at votecharliepease.com and follow us, and so we can talk more about Cape Coral business and politics and all those things. So thank you so much. And you're a good man, Kevin. You're a good man.
With that, we bid you adieu until the next Pease in a podcast, everybody.